It started when I swore that I had an allergy. And she's used to me acting that way. And she said, this is an allergy, you got something serious?
It got to the point that I was either we're going to the hospital or I'm calling 911 because he was having trouble breathing. He could not get out of bed. He was exhausted. So we finally took him to Newton Wellesley.
By the time she parked the car and I went into the emergency room, they looked at me and they said, we're getting you out of here. We're putting you under. Call your family.
And then within literally 3 or 4 days, we got a call that they didn't think he was going to make it. They called at 1:30 in the morning asking if I wanted them to take extreme measures to try and save his life, which was a stunning call to get in the middle of the night. And of course we said absolutely. And 2 days after that, I got a call with 5 people on the phone. A chaplain, a doctor, a nurse practitioner, social worker, and his nurse, and they were recommending that we take him off life support. They wanted to put him on what they call comfort care rather than curative care. So that was a devastating phone call to get. I said, absolutely not. You need to throw everything you have at him, because I know that's what he wants and that's what we want, and he's a fighter, and I don't believe this is how this ends. And they said, okay, we'll continue to do what everything we can, and they did.
We had these, in addition to my amazing family, we had these angels in the ICU in Mass General that literally took their lives in their hands to treat really, really, really sick people like me. People who I hopefully I'll get to know sometime, but up to this date, I have no idea who they are.
So it was literally this constant roller coaster. We'd get a small piece of good news, and the next day it was devastating. So it was just, we were literally living on the edge every minute. But I would say it was probably early May. He started slowly to mid-May, slowly kind of waking up, but not. He would squeeze a hand, he would open his eyes on command, but he couldn't communicate, and it was taking a really long time. An unbelievable nurse found his phone in his bag, charged it, called us from it, and said, do you want me to FaceTime with Frank? He couldn't really speak to us then, but we got to actually visually see him, and that was huge. I mean, then he went to Spalding on June 2nd, and he just kicked it into gear. It took him about a week, I think, to really fully grasp how much his body had deteriorated and how much work he had ahead of him.
We love you so much. You're gonna kill it in there. We love you so much.
Well, yesterday, I had been walking with a walker, and you learn the dynamics of leaning on it, and the wheels rolling, and sometimes there's more friction. Tom, one of her counterparts in PT, we've been working on the cane with parallel bars next to it, and then Tom, who's a little bit different kind, he's more of a scientific physical therapist. He said, here's your cane, get off your wheelchair and walk back to your room. And it was like, sort of called my bluff, like I'm gonna do this. In my own little world, it was just such a massive accomplishment when I didn't think I'd be able to walk at all, and I could literally have thrown this thing away and walked back to my bed. I talk about being released here on Independence Day for the 100 and some days that I've been here. For me, it was sort of the Independence Day Eve that I had, that I knew that I was mobile. I kicked Corbett's ass. I kicked its ass. So that was a really big deal. a really big deal, and it's testimony to this institution and again the angels back at Mass General who got me over here. Yeah.
That makes sense.
He said from the beginning, I'm coming home 4th of July. And we would just roll our eyes and be like, okay. But he did.
Thank you everyone so much.
There is the trepidation of leaving the cocoon. You know, there's an enormous safety net here, and you know, not that I had any heart seizures or anything like that, but the support group that I have here for any of my beck and calls, food, can you get me ice? You know, you balance the fact that you had it here.
We are definitely out of the dark days. Whatever comes our way now, it's all gravy. So there, you know, it's real, but there's also hope. And that's a huge part of our stories. You know, there was once no hope and now he's coming home, which is not something we were sure would happen.
Welcome home. Thank you. I don't deserve this. This is for a war veteran. Where's my bed? You go, man.
Thanks everyone for coming.
Thank you.
Incredibly anxious to get home, you know, because we live in a beautiful place. It's idyllic. It's not fancy. It's like psychotic. I mean.
He really hasn't gotten to see all of us together at all, and I think that's going to be the highlight for him. That's all he really cares about is his family.
Stand in front of me.
Salute. Cheers.
To the
Cheers
sous
to
chef.
you, Daddy. To the chef.
to the
Back in the
chef.
kitchen. Love it.
Don't you like olives?
Everyone's looking forward to a good Frank home-cooked meal.
Just like you remembered.
Yeah. I feel like that was such a whirlwind. It happened so quickly. That came on me when I Christmas.